When looking for the king of podcasts, you're at the wrong channel.
Well, excuse me!
Looking for good ideas for life? You're far from good hands.
Hey, bud, what's your problem?
If you think the listener is always right, you're far from the right place.
Out of order! Even in the future, nothing works!
Hosted by a Northeasterner by birth, but a rebel by choice.
Are you threatening me?
If you want a host that floats between love and madness,
and we know the night is always gonna be here anyway. Thinking of you's working up my appetite. Looking forward to a little afternoon delight.
then play on and listen to Crazy Train Radio.
All right, guys, listen to this blues riff and B. Watch me for the changes and try and keep up, okay?
Within the gaming world, there are your general gamers, but then there are those that enjoy the dark underbelly of gaming. If you're one of those that enjoy the dark underbelly of gaming, we certainly got the place to send you. Scorpion Lair Games. That's right, Scorpion Lair Games is the creators of the true crime hit Killers, the card game. Let's not forget they also have Killers Clothing Company, their profiler game, and things like the 5-Minute Murder channel on YouTube. And we certainly can't forget the new book that is certainly a hit, Beyond the Headliners, True Crimes, Myths, and Legends. Make sure you visit Jeff and the Scorpion Lair Games on Facebook and everywhere today.
Hello, my name is Kross. Perhaps you know me as Killer Kross or Kevin Robert Kezar. Whatever you like, this is Katniss. She's also here, and you are watching Crazy Train Radio. Don't tell the police you saw me here, but please continue watching and enjoy the show.
Hey folks, it's your least favorite host in the podcast world, Croc, Jonathan Steele. And boy, do we have a good one for you today. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this next guest is coming back, but he certainly is seeming to have more fun professionally since leaving WWE last August, doing shows around the world, and he's always seeming to make things work, whether by controlling the controllable, whether that's in the ring, his promos, or whatever he's got going on in his life. But let's welcome back current MLW champion, Killer Kross.
You want a viral moment? On behalf of all of the true fans of professional wrestling, guy with the suit and tie in the truck, go fuck yourself. That's from Killer Kross. No.
You're welcome.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing very good. How are you?
Right on. And I truly mean this. It's between the texts we've exchanged and everything. From the first time I talked to you, you seem like you're such a happy guy, or in a better place. Would you say that's pretty accurate?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, man. That's I've always been happy, and I was in a great place to begin with, but I definitely feel like I'm in a better place. And I have to completely attribute that to just being able to connect with fans on a deeper level. I always felt like I was connecting with them on a surface level, but in this business, there's a lot of really compelling stories to be told on one single program, on one single show. If you're not involved or written into those compelling programs, obviously you're just not going to connect in a greater way per se than someone else who's being, written, right, for, so to speak. Now I feel like I've completely jumped over that, and I'm just I'm in uncharted waters right now, and I'm loving it. I think that's the easiest way I could put it.
Right on. And I saw a piece of this with the fan interaction on Saturday night over at the old ECW arena, because you did a meet and greet, you and Scarlett, after the show. And just watching the interaction with everybody that came through the line to get their autographs, pictures, whatever the case was. You definitely seem to want to give them a great experience, especially just coming out of that main event you were working on. And I don't know how much I could talk about that with TV rights and all that stuff. So
just don't talk about the end. But honestly, I'll ask you because you're here. Did you enjoy the show?
I did. And that was the first question you asked me when you're like, "Oh my God, I'm sorry, yada yada." But what did you think of the show? And I enjoyed it because that was the first time I've done MLW. Obviously, I've been aware of the product and stuff. You have to be doing what I do. But to see what you guys are doing over there is awesome. Because, even after the match, you got back on the mic. Thank you, everybody. We're going to see you in October. Because there was a 3-year gap that you guys weren't in Philly. So, as far as MLW.
With a crowd like that, that is a place we're coming back to for so many reasons, man. They're interactive. They're smart. They know what's going on. They know pro wrestling. A lot of the audience that's there has been there for 20 years, 21 years, ever since Paul Heyman was running shows there with ECW. So, and then we had a lot of new fans as well. At the beginning of the night, it was just not possible for me to be out there with the meet and greets. But I always make sure that I either the beginning of the night, the end of the night, or just depending on the schedule, both, I'll be there. I try to meet as many people and be available as I possibly can. I think it's critically important to be able to do that in my books. You give people the best experience possible. And I'm in a position right now where I'm able to do that. I don't, the handcuffs are off. So.
And I do want to say, I don't mind saying this publicly, but I told you the other night when we were going back and forth, when you were going back to the hotel and stuff, there was a young man and his father sitting next to me in the crowd. And he ended up coming and meeting you afterwards. But I gave him a copy of the book, Life is Fighting, the advanced copy I had. I said, hey, because he was training to wrestle and all that stuff. And his dad actually told me you gave him some great advice and all that stuff and thanked me for the book and all. I said, well, here, because maybe there's something in here in Killer's story that might help your son with his training and hearing your life story. But before we dive more into things, I got to ask, because of my personal history with the dreaded disease, how is your mom doing? Because I know she has beaten cancer and she saw you win the belt. So how's mom doing?
I'm doing great. She's doing great.
That is awesome. And right here, for the video version, I'm going to put in what I'm talking about with Killer winning the belt. All right. So what do you think makes MLW different compared to everywhere else you've been?
Well, I would just say from what I have seen since, last November, there is a collaborative experience between what the office is looking to present to the audience as a narrative and a performance and the performers in the ring. We don't really have anybody dialing us back. Everyone can go out there and hook the audience just as hard as the main event is about to try to go hook the audience. A lot of wrestling shows try to create a tasteful peak. They want the show to peak on the tail end, right? Mm-hmm. I haven't really seen MLW try to dictate that or over control that, so to speak. They allow everyone to go out there and rifle off their best stuff for the audience. And I'm a firm believer, and this is the way I was brought up into wrestling. Let's all try to outdo one another so we can improve and get better. That doesn't necessarily mean that if somebody jumps off the second floor, the next guy's got to jump off the third floor. I don't mean in that sense, like something completely self-sabotaging and ridiculous. But in terms of getting reactions out of the audience, I mean, I don't know what that is. I think some people are perhaps afraid of burning out the audience by the end of the show. And so they try to control the ebbs and flows and peaks and valleys. And I think that can be detrimental sometimes to the performers, to the perception of equity that the audience takes on when they look at the performers, because they think, well, this guy just doesn't know how to connect with us, or, this stunk, or it didn't land. MLW doesn't do any of that. MLW gives you your time. They tell you the story they'd like to get out there. They're open to suggestions and, additions, deductions, whatever it may be. And we're able to go out there and show you guys what we're all about. And that, I would say, is probably the biggest difference, I'd say, them versus a lot of other places.
Well, you just brought up an interesting thing, and I was actually going to ask this, but I'll bring it up now. So, what is your personal mindset when you show up to, whether it's MLW, those shows in Romania, or wherever you end up, and you have the conversation with the boss or the promoter, or whatever the case is? All right, what are we looking to accomplish? So, what is your mindset once you know what you want to try to hit to or get to, excuse me, for the end of the night, whether it's your matches, your promos, whatever it is that is being requested of you? What do you do once you have that information?
Well, oftentimes, I'll build a rapport with these people that I'm going to work with long before I show up. So we'll have conversations, we'll talk, we'll get to know each other. I'm interested to know what their goals are. It's their company, right? So what are they looking to accomplish with the roster of talented professionals that they have? Or do they have any other goals aside from the obvious of just entertaining people to the point where they want to come back, retain that residual audience? And then eventually, I will try to find a common ground with them in terms of what I'm looking to accomplish in my performances versus what they're looking to project to their audience to retain them. So it differs each time, but most of the conversations that I've had, the people that I've been working with and working for are aware of my following. They're aware of the support that I get. They're aware of my previous performances. So they see I'm not just showing up for a 7-minute squash. That's not me. So there's not a whole lot to talk about. It's not a whole lot. They know that I'm coming in with the best intentions. I don't have these ideas that are entirely and totally self-serving. And more or less, I find out what they're looking for. And I just ask myself, with my performances, am I able to accomplish what it is that they're looking for? And so far, so good.
Absolutely. And it's interesting. Another great time we can do was I was watching on Monday Blurring the Lines on your YouTube channel, which I highly recommend people to go watch all the content you put out. And you said something interesting in there. Well, many things that were interesting, but the one at this point that stands out is you mentioned about wrestling being a giant experiment, because one MLW, for example, was in New York and Philadelphia, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday, from when we're taping this. And what might work in New York might not work in Philadelphia, or if you end up in Kansas City, Orlando, Tampa, wherever you go to do shows. So I thought that was perfect when you said wrestling is a giant experiment. Could you indulge in that a little bit and what you mean?
Well, I mean, you kind of said it perfectly. It's
okay.
Every crowd is always going to be a little bit different. And I feel like the longer you stay in this business and the more places you work, you kind of get to know what the audiences are looking for, which is great as a performer because it gives you an opportunity to diversify your performances. You're not shackled to performing one particular way. For instance, some people, some audiences in the South might like a little bit more drama. They might want something that's a little bit more story driven, right? If you go out west to Los Angeles, there's a very good chance that a hybrid lucha libre style is probably going to be something that they're going to be looking for. Mind you, if you go all the way out east might be a little bit of both. Northeast might be a strong story, some hybrid lucha, and maybe some extra violence.
Absolutely. Well, also in that same, should I call it a documentary? Is that the best way to
Sure.
say that?
I'm open to anybody calling it anything. It's a film of sorts.
Yes. So another thing you mentioned in there, and it was the segment talking about you and Zilla's match back at WrestleMania weekend. And you were talking about recognizing talent in somebody and trying to bring the best out of someone. How do you think you do that best if you recognize talent in somebody, whether it's Zillow or whoever else you've seen out on the road here?
I would say it's a case by case scenario because talent doesn't necessarily come in one form. Something special is not necessarily a physically tangible thing or something that you can kind of recreate. It's something that's just very unique. And so in particular with Zilla, he has so many different tools to play when he gets in front of an audience. He can kind of do a little bit of everything. But I think it's really important to be able to move and sell for him like the way he looks. And the way he looks is the way he is. That guy can smash people. For as big as he is, and I think you have to really see him in person to understand, for as big as he is, he moves really, really, really well. And I've been in the ring with some very, very big people. I've been in the ring with guys 6'6", 7 feet tall. Generally, the bigger they get, it's just physics. They're not going to move like somebody who's 170 pounds. Silla's really fast. I mean, like he's really fast. And I think even sometimes he slows himself down in the ring just so people can keep up. And that's not normal. Like when somebody like that, when you can move like that and be that big, you can be a professional athlete. And I don't mean just being an athlete as profession. I mean, you're going to ruin people that you're like playing with, whether you're a hockey player, a football player, you're a boxer, any sort of combat sport or any sort of like aggressive sport where you're allowed to hit people. Zilla's the kind of guy that like a coach is looking for. He's just naturally built that way. Some people genetically are just built different. He's like that. And I think trying to find a way to highlight those things when you're in the ring with him, I think is a good service to the business. And I think it's good for the show because you're just not going to get people like him. You're really not. They're very rare.
No, exactly. How do you feel about where you're at physically now? Because you and me are about 11 months apart, and I'm certainly not built like you and training like you and such. So how do you feel at this point? Do you feel you're at your peak as far as the physicality of what you do, whether it's the martial arts outside or professional wrestling?
It's really strange. I thought I was at my peak last year because that was the best shape I was ever in. I had cut down, I think, from 270 all the way down to maybe 250, 255. It's been so long I forgot, but it was a very aggressive cut and I did it in a very short amount of time. And I felt really, really good up front. And then as time went on, I kind of felt a little lousy. I think I was overtraining and under eating because, when you're doing a cut, you're in a calorie deficit. So you're kind of eating under the amount your body mass index would probably need to sustain itself. I loved the way I look. And honestly, for a while, I felt really good. But recently, I would say since January, actually, I decided to get off the cut. Let me say this. So right before August to December, I decided to get off the cut and I started doing a calorie surplus. And I went back up to 280. I wanted to see how big I could get. I wound up during training, partially tearing my groin. I was getting so strong. I was getting so big. But when you get strong and big, mobility can lag, like what I was telling you about. So from January to now, I decided actually to just do something totally different. I decided to start eating a Mediterranean diet. That's a whole other big explanation. If anyone's interested, you could look it up. I decided to start lifting to progressive overload, failure, every 4 days, sort of a Mike Menzer routine. And then on the days that I'm not working out, I decided to start running again. And Aesthetically, maybe I think I looked perhaps more impressive last year because I was on a very aggressive keto diet. But right now, I feel really, really good. And I'm very big on tracking health markers. I get blood work panels. I get all kinds of stuff. Like it's called like a comprehensive metabolic panel. I have an aura ring, so I track my sleep, my health, everything, my heart. This diet and this training routine I've been doing, again, while perhaps not as aesthetically impressive, all of my health markers are up. Like these are the best labs I've ever had in my life. There's like a heart health uh, thing that measures, how young your heart is and what your heart health is on an Aura ring. My wife got this for me as a gift a while ago, and my heart it went from 7 years younger than my biological age all the way to 11 years younger than my biological age. So I've actually de-aged my heart doing a Mediterranean diet, scaling back to weightlifting and jogging. So I feel really good, especially in the ring too. I never blow up. I never get so tired that I can't do anything. I know some people, sometimes the performances get ahead of them and they need a couple seconds. They need you to throw them out of the ring so they can catch their breath. I'm never in a situation like that. I push a really hard pace, and I went from, in January, I believe I went from 280, and as of today, I was 252. So I'm not doing an aggressive cut. I'm just doing incrementally wherever I land, but I feel very good.
Well, and you just mentioned an interesting name, and that's why I was looking off. I have a copy of did you read the book released by ECW Press of Mike Menser?
No, I didn't even know ECW Press had a Mike Menster book. That's insane.
Well, when we're done, whenever you get a chance after your workout and all, text me an address or something. I got an extra copy. I'm glad to send you. You'll appreciate from that standpoint a Mike Menser book. You'll really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just let me know and I'll drop that off in the mail. But you've been going all over the place. Like I said, you've been in Romania. I heard you're doing Australia. You've been New York, Philly, all over the country and over the globe. Is there a favorite spot?
New Zealand.
Is that coming up or did you already do New Zealand?
I haven't wrestled there, but I just recently went there. I also went to Czechia. I was in the city of Prague. It was beautiful. But go ahead.
Yeah, so going to all these different places, do you make time to be able to enjoy some of the different cultures and the food? Or is it running work off to the next spot?
I don't do that anymore. I actually stopped doing that when I was in WWE. I would always make sure that I would go get a local dish, or I would try perhaps a local cigar. I would get involved and engage with like the local community. That to me is most interesting because tourism is tourism, right? That's completely, I don't know. It's a constructed thing. This thing is created for somebody who's not from here to see. And while I can appreciate that and I like that, that's not really what the place is like. I'm actually interested to see what the place is like. Like, what do people eat here? What are the seasons like? I mean, like, what's really going on here? What's the history? I would go to museums. I would go on like hikes in the area where people like to hike. That stuff is very fun to me. I would do stuff like that, and I always make sure that I find time to do that. The only time I haven't been able to do that was on the Australia tour because the flight connections were so tight. We did Adelaide, 2 nights in Melbourne, back to Adelaide, a night in Sydney, I think back to Adelaide. I mean, for a 7-day period, I think I went through 9 different time zones because I went across the continent. I went literally to the other side of the world within 7 days, and I was in different areas. That was a living hell, getting home and trying to get into an East Coast time zone sleeping schedule. But somehow I did it. That's the hardest part of my job, is just existing in different time zones within 24-hour periods.
Absolutely. Now, do you tend to pull yourself back? Hey, I gotta get some rest and all that, or is that Scarlett's job to say, hey, you've been running hard with what you just said, these different time zones in a 24-hour period and such?
Yeah, that's Scarlett. That's definitely her, reeling me back in. She's like, you need to go to bed. Stop drinking coffee and go to bed.
Yes. With all the work you're doing, the traveling, etc., and are you guys ever able to clock out and be husband and wife and not Killer Kross and Scarlett? Or is that you're always working upstairs in your mind?
We got no problem doing that whatsoever at all. And we never have. I think that's why we were able to work together. I think if we had any sort of, if we ever had any sort of professional issues, and to this day, we never have, I don't think we would have continued working together because we were perfectly fine independently. It was Conan from AAA who had booked us together as like a package. Most people don't know that it was in Mexico. We were working together. He wanted us to be like the evil Brad Pitt and evil Angelina Jolie. That's how he used to put it. So we always used to come to work dressed well, and he would always say that. It'd be like, "You guys look like your movie stars coming to work. I got the rest of these people coming in here with stains on their shirt and sweatpants and tracksuits and shit. I can't let people see them." He would say, "You guys look like Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt." Not that we literally looked like them. He just said we reminded.
I knew where you were going with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my wife when my wife and I were in Thailand, people thought she was Angelina Jolie, which was hilarious. That happened a couple of times. I'm never going to get Brad Pitt. I look like a guy who just escaped the mental asylum, which I'm perfectly fine with. So,
well, since you just mentioned his name, Conan, hey, I've heard recently had a second leg amputated and different things going on medically. So if word gets to him, nothing but the best, sir. Always heard positive things about the man, and I hope your health will turn around soon, sir.
Love Conan. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. He's done so much for so many people that you hate to hear bad things like that for decent dudes.
Mm-hmm.
But is there any specific lessons? Because I know many people may or may not know that you are technically a Paul Heyman guy, because you always like to pick people's brains. And why wouldn't you pick a guy's brain like Paul Heyman? Has any of the lessons he's given you worked for you on the outside here, on the independent scene?
Oh, yeah. Just listening to him, even before I had met him, listening to interviews he did, watching shows and documentaries he was involved in, talking about the business, it actually kind of provided me the wherewithal to become a forward-thinking performer long before I was in WWE. I credit a lot of things that he has said over the years about making connections with the audience and so forth to my ability when I was an independent wrestler before WWE to connect with an audience. Like, he broke things down that I was seeing and watching. He was able to articulate them in a manner where I was able to organize those thoughts in my own mind and utilize them as a tool to be used to be a better performer. And then obviously once, meeting the guy, everybody always says never meet your heroes. Paul Heyman was somebody that I met, and I'm very, very glad that I did get to meet him. I don't have expectations on people when I'm meeting them. I think that's unfair to them. But if I had expectations when I was meeting Paul, he definitely would have exceeded them. Like, he's a wonderful guy. He's a straight shooter. He'll tell you what's up. And if he doesn't tell you what's up, he probably knows you're no good. So,
and last question for you. And I was thinking, well, on that, what you were saying about meeting your heroes and such, it's funny. I tend to look at when I deal with people either through the show here or everyday life and stuff. I look as, would I want to sit down and have a beer with them? Would I want to sit and have a conversation with them over dinner? You know what I mean? Just the basic stuff that we all do. Can I sit and get along with this person? So it's good to hear you had a good experience with Paul, and I'm sure you're still in touch. But the last question, and this was funny because I was referencing this to the young man who was sitting next to me at the show, was just remember one thing. Not that I'm in the wrestling business, but just remember your fans are your true boss. And the reason I said that was I was referencing a Garth Brooks story that I just reheard recently, where he ended up doing like a 23-hour meet and greet and such, when he didn't have to be doing that because of his stature. But when somebody asked him about it, Garth goes, I may be signed to whatever the record label is, but the fans are my boss because they're the ones who bought the records. They buy the merchandise. They come to the concerts, etc. So would you feel with being a professional wrestler, no matter where you're at, the fans are your boss because they're the ones coming to see you and such?
100%. And I always have. And I think that was the most difficult part about, being involved with a major company is you answer to them first contractually. And so
Yeah.
you may know better. And that's not really a conversation that they're interested in entertaining. That could look like you're insubordinate or you're not willing to do business, as they say. He's going into business for himself. It's got nothing to do with that. It has to do with knowing the audience and knowing what they want to see out of you. But, the money is coming from the contract that you signed, your quote unquote employer. So, to be an honorable man and to do good business, you gotta run the plays that they give you. And it's just unfortunate sometimes, those people can absolve themselves of the plays that they gave you and blame you for, not scoring the touchdown when you knew and addressed at the beginning of the play, this ball was not going to get across the field. And they said, we know we don't want it to get across the field. We want you to take it halfway so you can drop and somebody else can pick it up and run it through, et cetera. You get it. But now I'm very much in a place where I'm working in pro wrestling environments that want everyone to succeed. Every single match, they want the most they can get out of it, so the audience goes home happy. So the audience is absolutely jacked into every single performance that goes on, and I think that's the way it should be. And I'm not alone now.
That is a beautiful thing. What do you got coming up next? Because we're about to hit our time. So what's next going into the summer and early fall for you?
July 18th is ACW Independence Day. That's going to be in New York at the NJN Center. The last time I was there, I think we had 2,000 people. I'm pretty sure we had that sold out as well. It's an excellent crowd, excellent roster, professional wrestlers with tons of experience from all over the United States, people who've been on television before, new guys coming up. I would definitely say catch that. I'm going to be competing against Matt Riddle. I'm the ACW heavyweight champion there. At the end of the year, I'm going to be back in Australia, and I will be wrestling in New Zealand. I'm going to be in Auckland at that time. That's going to be the end of October into the beginning of November with World Series Wrestling. I'm also the world heavyweight champion there. And we are just locking in our dates with Romania. I'm going to be going back to Transylvania, most likely Cluj. I'm going to be defending the RPW heavyweight championship there. Opponent hasn't publicly announced yet, but I'm pretty sure I know who it's going to be. And then MLW, babe. MLW is airing every single Saturday on YouTube, 6:05 p.m. Saturdays. It's also on Veeps. And later on in the night, it's on beIN Sports. Also the MLW World Heavyweight Champion there.
Sweet. And by the way, going to Transylvania again, my sword fighting instructor on the West Coast would be so jealous of you right now because just the environment over there. I know Steven would be jealous, but Killer Kross, thank you so much for the time, sir. And we'll see you down the road.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
You are gonna need a bigger closet when you meet our new friends.
What?
Our friends over at Silk Screams out of Buffalo, New York is a diverse owned company that has a variety of shirts to fit your needs.
I need your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle.
Let's also not forget that Silk Screams also runs the semi-annual Buffalo Horror Garage Sale, which has tons of merchandise, celebrity guests, and tons of fun. Check our friends out over on their Big Cartel site to order stuff, or on social media for updates on merch, or on the Buffalo Horror Garage Sale. Visit our friends, like I said, at Silk Screams today.
Yeah, baby.
Let me show you how to move your body, move your body, move body,
Hey guys, it's Candace Michelle, and I'm so excited to be a part of Crazy Train Radio. I hope you guys tune in to this live interview.